Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Limited Time Only. I'm your host, Spencer, and hopefully it works this time, joined by Danny and Catherine.
Hello.
How's it going, Danny?
Not too bad. I stayed awake for this week's episode.
Yeah,
I had an issue last week where I just, went to go take a nap. Just turned into like sleeping. Well, It happens.
Yeah, sure.
We're good though. We're ready. Maybe.
All right. Well, so sorry for the issues, everybody who is typically watching on Twitch. If you're watching now, Twitch just it's freezing and being weird, and we didn't really want to risk. We didn't want to risk losing the episode, so we're gonna do it live here on YouTube and see how we like it. Don't forget to check out our sponsors, which will never freeze on you, like GameGrid and the Manabase. You can check them out at playgamegrid.com and themanabase.com. The Manabase is an amazing place to check out Magic content. They have new up-and-coming Magic content creators, such as Nikachu, as our listeners have dubbed him the Mason Slayer. And also, you can go to playgamegrid.com and check out if there's a Game Grid near you. It's an amazing place to play Magic the Gathering, and we really appreciate both of their sponsorships. So thank you so much to both of them. And you can also check out Fusion Gaming, the sponsor of the Manabase. You can buy your Magic singles there, as well as some sealed products. If you're looking to do a draft and you're looking to buy the new set, that's definitely a place you want to check out at Fusion Gaming. So thank you so much to both of those. Wow. All right. Now that we've done the intro twice, we'll get into the episode.
For sure. The intro is very fun, though.
Yeah, exactly. It's way more fun.
Sponsors are great. Oh, yeah. Way better.
Well, every week on the show, we like to talk about our biggest movers. So we talk about the cards that have gone up or down for us in either sealed or draft. Actually, from now on, we'll actually do a biggest sealed mover for both of us as well. So my biggest, let's start with our draft movers. And Danny, what is your biggest mover up?
So for draft, I focused on some blue cards. So for up, I had Riddle Form. I had never really tried to go as deep in blue-red to pick go in on Riddle Form, but I actually think the card's pretty reasonable. Like, if you get a really spell-heavy blue-red deck, I think it's a real payoff. And then I had never considered the Scry being that good, but I picked one or two recently, and then the Scry came up as being relevant in late game and felt advantageous, where I previously just thought of it as the 2-mana 3/3 flyer if you can cast a spell. So that was my biggest mover up this week.
How highly are you taking it when you talk about biggest mover up?
Yeah, so it's a pretty dedicated pick. So you have to take it with you have to be a little timid with when you take it, just because you're not really picking a blue card, you're picking a blue-red card, and you're not just picking a blue-red card, you're picking blue-red, I'm committing to play a lot of spells. So it's mostly once I feel like that deck is open. So pack one, it'd be if I'm maybe 4th, 5th, 6th pick, and I have cards that synergize really well with it, then I'll go in and try to make it happen.
Cool. What's your biggest mover down?
Down. So sticking with the theme of blue cards, is I went with Aerial Guide. So I still think that card's really good. It's a good card.
You don't mean sticking with your theme of blue cards. You mean sticking with your theme of biggest movers down, which are being highly really playable, cards. Probably best common in the best blue common in the set still. So is it still the best blue common in the set? You just moved it down?
No. So all right, this is partly why. So I think Aerial Guide it only goes in blue. It's good in blue-red, and it's good in blue-white sometimes. So blue-white, but there's a lot of green decks that you'll play blue cards, but you won't play Aerial Guide. So I've moved it below Unquenchable Thirst, and then I still think there's some other blue, there's times where I would rather have, I don't know. I mean, it's probably just Unquenchable Thirst as for blue commons that are better than it, but I just think I was slam dunking it, being oh look, this is blue is so open, this is great, but I've found that there are some blue decks that don't really want a win guide. They mostly just want blue to be Unquenchable Thirst and bombs. So just I've not played it as much in the green decks, so I just kind of wanted to bring that up. It's not always a slam dunk great card in every deck that has blue.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Interesting take. Uh, that's so funny, dude. You're so funny. Like, I can never
I
tell
think
if
it's
you're like
okay.
actually trolling me or if like you actually believe in
Well,
your biggest
I
movers.
so I was like considering just to troll you and having my biggest mover down be like Sand Strangler or something. But like
Sure.
I think it's okay having a biggest mover down still be a good card. Like I still think Aerial Guide's great. Like it's a really good card. But I just wanted to like note that there are like sometimes you get it set in your mind like this card is great and you might not realize like it there like the instances where it's not as great as what you think it is. Like there might be
Sure.
picks that
So,
you are making incorrectly.
Danny, I have a problem with biggest movers this week, and I
Okay.
kind of want to talk about it. So, do you ever fall into the trap where you just start drafting the same? You like love a deck in a format, and
Oh
it's
yeah.
usually open, so you just draft it again and again and again.
Yep.
Drafted
Yeah,
blue
for
red in my
sure.
last 5 drafts.
Yeah, I mean that deck is fun and it's surprisingly open considering how good it is and how what everyone is like. Yeah, no, blue red's good.
That's all I draft, and so all of my picks are like when you say Aerial Guide's your biggest mover down, I'm like, oh no, I'm snap picking off Aerial. Like
Yeah.
I first picked Aerial Guide like 2 days ago. Like it's a pretty big part of my draft. And
Yeah.
I don't know if this has already been my biggest mover down in this format, but Aven Reedstalker is probably my biggest mover down this week. You don't really have room in your curve for this card.
In any deck, it's like bad in every deck.
Yeah, you just don't have room. Like your top end is typically like stripped river winders for cycling or like a big spell at the end. Then you like at instant speed you rather have like tragic lessons plus a spell. So like you don't have room for even Reach Stalker in your deck. And it's also the only deck I'm drafting, right? So like maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's good in another deck, but like in blue red, you just don't want it. You'd rather have other stuff. And I could be told. It sounds like I'm right. Like that it's not just this deck, that like no deck wants it.
Yeah,
But
it's pretty bad.
that's been my biggest mover down. My biggest mover up is very very weird. It's actually Striped Riverwinder. I found this to be like a pretty good 2 of in the blue red deck. You get a lot of cards that actually want you to discard or cycle stuff, and so having top end cyclers that also like let you compete in the late game if you get there has actually been pretty good. I'm not like first picking it or anything like that, but I like there were a few drafts I'm like, man, I'm really sad that I have these Striped Riverwinders in my deck, and then by the end of it I was like, oh well, those turned out to be pretty good. So that's kind of it. I like how both of our things were blue. By the way, blue deserves it, right? We haven't talked about blue in like 2 years, so
Yeah.
it's about freaking time. If I wasn't gonna pick a blue card for my biggest mover up, I might actually pick Kindled Fury, because I feel like nobody plays around it in this format, and like it's basically 1 red win a combat step.
Yeah, it's situationally very good. Like, yeah it's good.
So, what is your biggest mover in sealed this week? Because you did play in a.
I did. So in sealed, so my deck was fine. So I had a Bounty of the Luxa. That was probably my best card. That card's very good, but I didn't really have any top ends. Like I didn't have like a crazy bomb. My most expensive like bomby card was a Chaos Maw, and so that's probably my biggest mover down just because I played with that card a lot. In sealed, that's just like not. It's not as impactful as you would think. Like normally I think of Chaos Maw as like, wow, that card's insane. And like in the first couple rounds against mediocre sealed decks or people that didn't know how to build the sealed in this format very well, that card was really good and it won me a couple games. But then it started being a pretty big liability. Like I had played red so that I could play Chaos Maw, like I was splashing Chaos Maw, where I could have played white for Aven of Enduring Hopes and some more deserts. And it was definitely wrong. Like I definitely should have just played Aven of Enduring Hopes and more deserts because Chaos Mod doesn't do enough. Like if you're on the ramp plan, most of your opponents are on the ramp plan, and they don't have that many creatures that have 3 toughness. Or if they do, you don't care about those creatures. So you're just playing a 7-mana 6/6 with like minor upside. And so that was definitely my biggest mover down over the weekend. Just kind of like a philosophy.
So So I've been playing a lot of sealed. So for those who know, I actually play more sealed than draft typically. So like typically I'll play like 1v1 sealed with people online. It's like a lot of my limited game.
Yeah.
Because I like sealed. It's my favorite format, so I just prefer to do that if I'm going to play limited. And Corey Beadle, I feel like, is probably the most underrated sealed card in this format.
That card's great.
Like, legitimately great, and no one ever talks about it. It's like he's just a little beetle that's a big beetle that's doing a lot of stuff, and nobody's talking about him. And I'm like, and somebody was like, why is that in your deck? I was like, do you have that in your 75? Like, yeah, it's in my sideboard. I'm like, how many deserts are you playing? They're like 4. I'm like,
it's good.
You should be playing Corey Beadle.
Yeah,
like,
especially when you have 7 drops, like.
Right?
Yeah.
It's so good, and it like ramps you into your 7 drops while also putting a 4/5 into play. Yep. Like, what more could you want?
Yeah, that card is very, very good.
So I don't know that it's my biggest mover up, but I thought that we would take this segment to just appreciate Corey Beadle for just a second, because he doesn't get love. You know, everybody talks about their 7 drops, but nobody talks about the guy that gets them there. And if they do, they talk about Oasis Ritualist, right? And like, come on, give the Beadle some love. Give him some love. That's all I'm saying. And like, the number of times that I've gone like turn 2 cycle, turn 3 the Manolith, turn 4 him, and then you just play a 7 drop like you just had an Oasis. Like,
yeah,
it does the same thing. You get a turn 5 7 drop still.
He's really, really strong for sure. And his body's a lot more relevant. In sealed, the 2/4 doesn't do as much, but a 4/5 can actually attack pretty well in this format.
And if I was to have a biggest mover down for sealed, it would actually probably be Bitterbro Sharpshooters, because like, so many things like end up trumping it, right? Like, your deck's full of a bunch of Corey Beetles and Rampaging Hippos or Riverside Serpents, right? So like, everything that you're playing just blocks it or attacks through it.
My biggest mover up this week is so just like Chaos Maul was a bad finisher, my good finisher is I had a Scaled Behemoth and I had a Striped Riverwinder, and those cards are like the best. They are so good.
So good.
Especially if you have cartouches and stuff, because I played a game where my opponent just didn't cast any spells and he had like 5 cards in hand, and I just had a Scaled Behemoth and a Riverwinder, and I just killed him, and I was like, what's in your hand? Just a bunch of spot removal. And he showed me a hand of 6 spot removal spells. And I was like, because in sealed, people just jam all of those, right?
Yeah.
And if you just draw a hexproof,
I just hit my mic with my drink.
Oh, you're good. It didn't sound bad or anything, but yeah, if you just have a hexproof threat, it's so hard for people to deal with. If you have any tricks, if you have it's great. It's so good.
Yeah. So I think that I really like doing this. By the way, this is our first time removing. Well, we haven't done how you build it in a while, but I think getting to talk about sealed every week and kind of giving a snapshot view of like where we think things are going is good. I think that tells you more about the format. We got a question on our last YouTube video that I'd kind of like to cover, and the question was, "Hey guys, I feel like I missed the boat on 4-color green that you guys are talking about. Like, what makes up that deck? How does it work, and why is it important?" And I think the last podcast we actually did just assume that everybody knows what 4-color green is, and I think it's kind of important that we kind of cover what that is. So 4-color green is this deck that plays all of the fixing. So it plays Traveler's Amulet, it plays Oasis Ritualist, it plays Manolith, it plays the ramp spells, so Spring to Mind and Beneath the Sands, and it ramps you into big 7 drops like Sandworm Convergence or at the uncommon slots. What is the name of the worm?
Sifter Worm.
Sifter Worm. And it tries to, and then it lets you splash all of your bombs, right? So between your Manoliths and your Traveler's Amulets and the ramp spells, and then you also play all of your deserts, and you just go through your deck and play your bombs.
Yep.
And the reason that this deck is good is because of the ramping, right? So we just mentioned 3 green/colorless ramp spells that ramp you directly into.
There's like 6. There's so many ramp spells.
Yeah, I mean there's tons, right? And then you have the 2 drops, right? So you have Hope Tender, you have
Naga
Vitalist, and then at 5 mana you have Hour of Promise, Corey Beadle, yep, that ramps you, and those aren't the
Paradise.
fixes. Yeah,
so many.
And then there's Gifted Paradise as well. So there's just tons, and Gifted Paradise also double fixes your mana, right? So it's double color too, which is important because Hour of Promise, Oasis Ritualist, they double fix. So you have all this color fixing, all of this ramping, and then what it does is it lets you like play anything, and it lets you just play your best cards. And in sealed, you know, the format does not lend itself to extremely aggressive decks because there's significantly less gust walkers. There's the most like the aggressive decks lean green, right? So like the most aggressive cards are frilled Sandwalla and what's the name of the green 2-drop? Oh, Stalwart. Runa's Stalwart. And those cards are in a color that leans towards ramping, right? So it splits your colors, so it makes it even harder for you to get an aggressive deck, which just makes that 4-color green deck a little bit better.
Yeah, it's hard. Like, in general, sealed has a hard time being aggressive. So aggro decks need like 7, 8 2-drops, and in a sealed pool, you're just not going to get 7 or 8 2-drops in 2 colors very often. And so you're not going to be able to consistently curve out 2, 3, 4 and really get a good aggro curve. You're not going to get like cheap interaction, or like you just don't get a balanced aggro deck like you can get in draft. So it rewards just trying to play your bombs. And in the past, in like a normal sealed format, you just kind of pick whichever colors are the best and have your best cards. And you normally have to try to pair like, okay, this color has the biggest bomb, but this color is really deep and has lots of playables, so I'll play those two together. But when you have enough fixing that you can reliably cast spells of any color, being able to do that is really, really powerful because you play all of your best cards. Like you play all of your green fixing and all the good cards in your pool. And you can't get punished super easily because there's not very many aggro decks, and it's great.
Yeah, so this deck kind of just lended itself to this. And despite what Danny might tell you, this is my let's get into the episode. So that's the snapshot of Sealed that we want to do.
Yeah.
We're not going to do a color of the week because we're actually going to talk about not Amonkhet, Hour of Devastation as a whole. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Let's start with our feeling of Amonkhet as a whole. So how did you feel about Amonkhet?
An Hour of Devastation together. I think.
No. Just Amonkhet. How did you feel
just
about Amonkhet?
Okay. Yeah. So Amonkhet was kind of bad. It was fine. Like
I don't think we felt that way.
In comparison, it feels like I remember it being kind of bad. But
so here's the thing: is I think that we were like, the sealed format's really fun. You should play the sealed format.
Yeah, sealed's pretty good.
The sealed format was great. It's probably better than the draft format, but the draft format's fine. Like I did X number of drafts. It was a good format, right?
Yeah.
I think that's how we felt.
Uh-huh.
But I know that it doesn't feel that way now.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It's hard to contain like how we feel today compared to how we felt then, right? Mm-hmm. But do you think that that's true? Do you think you felt like that?
I think Amonkhet, I felt rewarded. I felt like if you understood the format and you prioritized the correct things, you could be very rewarded in a draft. Like if you were first picking Magma Spray over a bomb, like that was correct, and you would be rewarded because you would just kill whoever had drafted the bomb, and you'd just be like, all right, dummy, why'd you take Curator of Mysteries? You were supposed to take Magma Spray, and then you would kill their guy and then just attack them and make them not able to block and exert all your guys, and they would just die. So it felt very rewarding in that, like in the drafting section, like you could draft really cohesive, really powerful aggro decks if you knew what you were doing.
But looking back on it, you don't feel that way anymore.
Looking back on it, like having a set where it's hard to block is really hard for Limited to for the games of Limited to be interesting, right? Like a lot of the reason why Limited is really fun is because you get to block. Like you get to use the combat step on both sides, like attacking and blocking and combat tricks and removal, and like you use the combat step a lot. And Exert lends itself to not using the combat step very well. Like it kind of trumps what would generally happen in a combat step. Like someone attacks you with an exerted hooded brawler and your choice is chump block or take 5, and you're just like, now, I don't like either of these choices. Both of these choices suck. It doesn't feel good. And so that's like the main feel bad for Amonkhet, I'm pretty sure.
I kind of agree. I think that when I look back on Amonkhet, I remember being like I remember Pro Tour testing being like, this format's great. This format's super fun. You can draft aggro, you can draft mid range, you can draft control, you can draft fun decks.
Yeah.
And it was pretty shared by people. Like if you talk to like Christian Kakana tweeted like the week before the Pro Tour saying this is the best draft format of all time. Like it's going to be the best draft format of all time. And when you like think about what was the eternalized mechanic called?
Embalm.
Yeah, when you think about like the embalm creatures, you think about cycling, like it felt like and as you were trying to draft those decks, I remember the first couple drafts we did, we had like the cycling decks, right?
Yep.
And we were like, this format is sweet.
Yep.
And then slowly aggro decks started winning more, so you draft more and more, and then you realized that everybody could draft an aggro deck. And it became worse.
Yep. So like the cycling decks in theory were good, and so they actually came together more in sealed because you couldn't get aggro curve punished as much. But yeah, like in draft, those decks were present, and you see them more now than you did then because there's not as many aggressive decks going around. But once people kind of figured out how busted some of the aggro decks were, that's when the format kind of turned into that. But it was rewarding if you were able to switch over and know what you were supposed to do. So.
All right, so we're pretty far into this format, and I think I'm ready to say it. I think this is the best format of all time.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. It's like
limited format of all time.
Yeah, it's like actively great.
You can draft aggro, you can draft cool decks, you can draft ramp, you can draft control, you can draft whatever you want.
Like
now,
literally anything.
Black, but you can draft it.
No, but there's like black decks that are totally reasonable. They're like, I mean, they cycle all of their black cards so that you can draw your other color.
Oh sure, blue black cycling. That's
exactly.
I feel like you're being disingenuous.
No, blue black cycling I think is like, so you have to have a few things go correctly for you.
I think it's disingenuous to say that there's so that if you were to say like the best pound for pound uncommon in the set, I think there's an argument to be made for Obelisk Spider, and I think that you could also say that Obelisk Spider has never been played in a straight green black deck.
Yeah. Is straight green black? I mean, yeah, no one ever plays green black. That's not a thing.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Blue but like I think but yeah, no, you're right. About like this format, there really is like almost every archetype. Like
no, I think
Flyers decks.
I think legitimately it is it's definitely the best second set of all time.
Yeah. Oh, I'm almost positive.
I think it's in the running for the best.
Yeah, I didn't play Image Trap, but I heard it was great.
And we're not done yet, and I'm not done with it. Like, and the weird thing is like I've never heard anyone complain about this sealed format. No, it's like, a 2-deck format. It's either you opened an aggro deck or you opened 4-color midrange, and that's a fun matchup to play. But like all the games are super interactive. Everything, like, it's fun. It's so fun.
Yeah. You have to go to your sideboard a lot. Like, it rewards good sealed. So, like, this weekend I didn't have a great showing, but, like, I enjoyed myself and I felt like the games were fun. And like, I sideboarded a lot based on what my...
Oh, did you let Mason build your deck again?
No, I did not.
Oh.
But Mason's deck was unbelievable.
I've heard stories.
Whew. That one was great.
The internet was buzzing about a Mason Clark deck that was on camera.
He went on coverage, and his opening hand was 5 lands, Hour of Devastation, Glorybringer. So he snapped it off, he kept. And then his first draw step was Locust God. And they're like, sure. Okay.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk. So we kind of covered our feelings on the format, and I wanted to get that out of the way because I think our feelings will it's amazing because I feel spoiled. Like there's no possible way that I will not enjoy this format till the end. Like
it's actively great.
Like we're not even done. We're doing this episode and it feels like it's over. Like it feels like
we can still play it for a bit.
I know. I'm so lucky. I feel so blessed. So let's kind of go over it. So what is your favorite deck to draft in this format, Danny?
My favorite deck to draft in this format? Probably like I liked the good aggro decks. So I liked a good green-white deck. Like I felt Like, because they didn't always come together, but when I had like a good, like when I got to appeal to authority and exert a bunch of dudes, like I kind of felt like I was kind
Or
of
like
punishing the people.
also it's the deck that makes active heroism look great.
Yeah, no, there's lots of cards that are good in that deck. You just have to like make sure that you get a bunch of 2-drops, and so you're like
And a bunch of
definitely
combat tricks.
Yep, yeah, and the combat tricks, and you want like some of the finishers like overcome or appeal to authority are like important in that deck, and they only go in that deck, so you definitely get them when they're open, which is nice. So.
Yep. I think that being the deck that wants active heroism and gifts of strength, meaning that you're going to get all the active heroisms and gifts of strengths, and I think that deck was fun too. I'm surprised that's your favorite deck.
Yeah, I enjoy. I don't know. I like to mix it up in draft, and so in this format, I really enjoyed it. I felt like, I don't know. I felt like it was fun for me this time. But.
Yeah, my favorite deck to draft, and it wasn't close, was blue-red. And here's the reason, is I feel like there's multiple blue-red decks in this format. There's blue-red spells, there's blue-red aggro, there's a little bit more controlling blue-red, there's blue-red bombs. Like blue-red is deep. It is a deep color combination, and I personally really, really enjoyed it. I felt like I was getting a lot out of my blue-red drafts. And, I don't always feel that way when I'm drafting. I don't always feel like I'm getting like the most out of my picks. And the thing is like, it doesn't matter if I'm starting with a Burning Fist Minotaur or a Kenra Scrapper, or if I'm starting with Riddle Form. Like I like how my draft starts can really influence my deck. And like I've had blue-red decks that were Cunning Survivor Ominous Sphinx decks. And then I've had blue-red decks that were 7 2-drops, 3 aerial guides, and what's it called? The
couple unsummons, you get like some open fire,
crazy, like a bunch of Firebrand Archers, and
and
then you're like, well, I don't know how I could possibly lose. It was always different. Like I always had to construct my deck, and my picks were interesting. This format's so great. It
is really good.
Think about it. There's a deck there's a blue-red deck that doesn't want Riddle Form, but Riddle Form goes in the blue-red deck. And your picks influence which ones you can actually take and where the cards are picked at the table. Like, this draft format is so great. It's amazing. And I really enjoyed that deck. And I think that's why I've drafted it so many times, is that every draft is so different.
You can be like open in blue-red next to someone else that's in blue-red, because you'll just be like taking
because
different
they want
blue-red
the
cards.
unsummons and I want the 2-drops.
Yeah.
And it's just a completely different draft. Or they don't want, or like they specifically, they're a Riddle Form deck, so they don't want aerial guides. So I'm getting past aerial guides, and it's like, well, thank you.
Yep.
So I think that was my favorite draft deck. I think that we would probably both say that blue-black cycling is both of our second favorite.
Yeah, blue-black cycling is sweet. So when you get a good blue-black cycling deck, it's like, it really goes. Like, there are a lot of cyclers in the set. So many. And if you just get paid off in Amonkhet, it's gross.
Well, I feel that they did a good job, right? Like, Vile Manifestation, Ominous Sphinx, Cunning Survivor. There's payoffs in this set. You don't have to get Drakehaven for the deck to be playable. Whereas, like, if you didn't have Drakehaven before, you probably didn't have a deck. And now, because of Cunning Survivor and Vile Manifestation, like, you have real cards that can win you the game throughout that, right?
Yeah, for sure. And then you also, adding the cycling deserts has made the whole format like,
oh man,
it's unbelievable how they are so good. Like, it's amazing. There's so many games where you'll draw you'll cycle 3 deserts, and then you'll like, oh wow, I cast 3 more spells than my opponent and I won. Oh wow, that's cool. Who knows how that happened? It's just. Yeah.
So what do you think is your least favorite deck to draft in this format?
So the bad aggro decks are like miserable. They are so bad. Like a red-white deck that doesn't come together is probably my least favorite. Like a red-white where you don't get the exert synergies, where your deck like literally doesn't do anything. That one's no fun.
So I think that for similar reasons, I have 2 specifically favorite decks. One of them makes me sad. It's green-black. It's one of my favorite archetypes of all time to draft, and I just think it doesn't work.
It doesn't exist.
You can't draft it. Like, the synergies are almost anti-synergies between this set and the last set for the deck, so you just can't do it.
Yeah.
And then my other least favorite is a deck that I believe never has actually been drafted correctly, and that it's a myth because I've never lost to it, and I've never seen anybody win with it, and that's Black White Zombies. I actually don't believe the deck exists. I think it's a myth that people tell themselves is great because it was good last set, but I actually don't think you can do it.
I have
Have you
not
3-0'd or
seen
drafted
very
Black
many.
White Zombies in this
No.
format?
No, definitely not Black White Zombies. I've played Black White removal spells sometimes, but
Yeah, I played that
like,
deck. I'm specifically talking about the Zombies deck, though.
yeah, it
I
doesn't
think that
really.
it's a pipe dream.
But why? Like in the last set, it was so good. I think it's because you had Fanbear and
People
Binding
are trying
Mummy.
to play lurching rot beasts in their aggro deck, and it just makes it really hard.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, it definitely doesn't function super well. That's for sure. And yeah, the unconventional tactics is like your payoff, and that card's just not good.
It's not good. It was so funny. I was listening to LR either yesterday or today, and they talked about unconventional tactics. So it's basically a gold card, and I'm like, and they're like, yeah, it's like a really good win condition in this one deck, and I'm like, I wanted them to say this deck does not get drafted because you can't draft it.
Yeah, it seemed like both of them are just saying in theory, unconventional tactics is good in a white-black zombies aggressive deck that I have yet to see. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that we were wrong because we called the card unplayable. I think that if white-black zombies comes together, I think that card is fine, but I don't think that you hit the maximum threshold, right? So you have Wretched Camel, and you have, I don't know, the deck is just awkward, right?
Mummy Paramount. You want lots of Mummy Paramounts, but you feel like you can't take Oketra's Avenger. You don't want to take Oketra's Avenger too highly.
The first zombies deck I lost to was a Marauding Boneslayer green-black deck.
Okay.
That's the zombie deck I've lost to. There's a lot of zombies, but they're all awkwardly costed, and you just can't get the maximum.
There's a lot of bad ones that are in the zombie slot that actually suck.
Sorry, I have really bad hiccups. I'm really sorry. So yeah, those are my two least favorite decks to draft. So how do you rank the colors, Danny?
I think green is the best because it leaves you the most open. You can start off green and you can kind of fall into a lot of different decks. So I think that makes it the most powerful color. It's also just it can play it can do both things. You can have a green aggressive deck, you can have a green bomby deck. It just kind of plays all of the cards pretty well. So I like green as the best. I think. What do you think is the best color? Do you agree that green? It's probably green.
Oh yeah. Do you want me to just go over my 5?
Sure. Yeah, and I'll tell you how I feel.
Yeah. So I have green number 1. I have blue and red tied at number 2.
Yeah.
And then I have white, and then I have black.
Okay. I probably have green. So it's the same. I have the same, but then I have black, and then I think I like white the least.
Oh, really?
So I think that you can actually.
Think you can draft a base black deck, but I think that you can draft a base white deck.
You can draft a base Oketra's Avenger deck.
Well, okay, but that's not true for any card in black.
Yeah, no, but I think you can I think you can play black cards more than you can play white cards.
Well, but that's true because they lend themselves to the 4-color deck better than the white cards do.
Yeah.
It doesn't make black better, right? What black cards are you playing, right? You're playing Torment of Hailfire, Torment of Venom. You're playing your bomb rares in black, right? It's not like you're playing your random
Bane Whip
marauding bone slasher in your green black deck, right? That's not happening. You're playing your bombs in black, right? So you're playing your Eternals. It's all rares. Or you're playing your removal spells. You're playing your bone whip punishers, right? But you would also. It's not like you're not playing your sandblast in your white in your 4-color green deck, right? You still are. You're still playing all of your white removal spells when you get them. Mm-hmm. The difference is that you're not playing your 2-drops, but you're not playing black 2-drops either.
Yeah, I guess
Also, you're welcome You're welcome to fight me back on this one.
No, yeah, no, I understand. I think the card like a lot of the bad black cards have cycling, whereas white doesn't have cycling, and so you can play. I don't know. I've just found I found myself lacking, like white just not living up. Like if I want to build a white aggro deck, which is most of my decks, right? I have very few cards from white that I can actually play. And then if I'm going to play a white controlling deck, that doesn't really exist. Like there's so many cards that I almost never want to play from white. And I think I agree where you can play.
I think the reason you feel this way is because of white's rare, right? So you have weird rares in white.
Yeah, the rares in white suck.
Right? It's Overwhelming Splendor, it's Oketra's Last Mercy, it's Solemnity, right? So they have a lot of clunky rares.
Even Hour of Revelation is horrible in the green deck. Like that would be a good deck.
I think that the reason, and then like you're not playing your annoying pouncers, right? So like for you, because you play so much 4-color green, white seems worse to you, right? Because black has better bombs for the deck. But I don't think that makes the color better. So like in your draft decks, everyone who's in the 4-color green deck is going to equally want those bombs. Whereas when you look at like the power for power, pound for pound card, I do think that white stacks up a little bit better because I'm the only one that wants these 2-drops, right? Like nobody else wants a Steward of Solidarity. My Steward of Solidarity looks great. Nobody else wants a Solitary Camel. By the way, this Solitary Camel's going to make it impossible for me to lose multiple other types of matchups. Like blue-red's never going to beat it. So I think that on a pound-for-pound level, I like white better, but I can see what you're saying.
I definitely think they're close. Like I think you're definitely right where the white rares you don't really splash, and I'll splash. Yeah, and I'll splash the black things, and I think that those colors are worse enough that I generally play those colors mostly as a green deck. And a lot has to go right for me to play a white deck or a black deck. Like that, it's a pretty rare circumstance. And so I can take a black card, like I can take Torment of Hailfire with more confidence than I can like Angel of Condemnation. Like Angel of Condemnation is a good one, but like I can play Torment of Hailfire with some other black cards.
I've been saving that for a week to have it be my biggest mover down. Angel Condemnation is like the biggest letdown in this set ever.
Yeah, like it's fine, but like comparing like Torment of Hailfire is like actively great in that green.
But how many times do you play Angel of the God Pharaoh? Do you ever not play it?
What was it?
The 6-mana 4/4 with cycling 2 flying.
No, yeah, that card's great. I mean, but the problem is that in those green decks you don't want to you don't want to splash all of those one white. Like you don't want to just splash that Angel.
Right, but if you have 2 white deserts and that, like you're gonna play them every time, and then you're gonna play your Sandblast, and like you're definitely going to play that over random stuff, or your Deserts Hold. Like I think that what happens is people get so focused and I know that it's actually your personal philosophy on Sealed. Like I'm gonna play my bombs.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But like the reason that I love Sealed is because I believe that it gives me the most advantage over players worse than me. Because I of all of the formats. Because if I build my deck correctly and the best deck I can possibly build, I don't need my bombs to win because I'm just going to outplay and have a better deck than my worst opponents. Yep. And it lets me leverage my skill unlike any other format. And I don't think that in Sealed or Draft, Black actually has what it takes to do that. Specifically in Sealed.
Yeah, I could see, like, in Sealed, Black is probably... Like, I think both of those colors are significantly worse, and I think they're pretty close. And also...
Yeah, we're arguing over, the literal dregs of the format, right?
And I also
like... the red colors are so much better than the other colors, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, we're in a format where if you and I had a conversation over, some margaritas, I think one of us might come on the side of blue being the best color in the set.
Yeah, no, blue's great. It's like really, really good, which is pretty surprising. But. Yeah,
like for me, Unquenchable Thirst and the Blue Desert are like 2 of the top 4 commons.
Yeah, they're really, really strong.
So
I also like Torment of Scarabs. I think that card's good, and you don't like that card, and so that's probably one of the main reasons why I like Black more than you. Because that card's great. It's so good.
So we're not gonna wrap this up with we're gonna save the gushy nonsense of how much we love this format for the goodbye episode, because I'm sure I'll show a tier or two for this set. But overall, like, do you see yourself playing more of this format? I know that there's no more sealed PPTQs in our area for it. So, tier, but like online sealed PPTQs are still a thing. Like,
yeah, it's great. I have almost no complaints. I think it's fairly balanced in that like lots of the archetypes are good, and it was like close enough to balance that it can be self-correcting. Like green isn't so much better that you literally have to force green,
I
or
think the fact
white
that, like,
isn't.
A green white aggro deck exists really keeps the format in check. And it's so many, nobody ever talks about it, but like the number of times I've lost to a frilled sand wallet is like kind of inappropriate.
Yeah, like you can't be fighting with very many people. Like you need to be getting Catcher's Avengers later than you would think. You need to be getting Rona's Stalwarts later than you think. But like it's a deck that if it's open, like you can draft it and it's good. And same with red white. Like if red white is wide open, you can get a good red white deck. You just need like 18 creatures that have the exert keyword. But then if you get that deck, it's actually pretty insane. It's like really, really good.
Yep. So really quick, let's wrap this up with a bow and talk about just the archetypes that we believe people can and should be drafting. 4-color to 5-color green.
Yep. Blue red's insane.
Those are probably the top 2 decks. I think those are the best 2 decks.
For sure.
And I would follow it up with the aggro decks, so green white and red white. And then well, actually, I think that the cycling deck is actually better than both of those decks. It's just harder to get.
Yeah. I agree.
So blue-black cycling specifically, so you want, and you get paid off, right? Like you get like all the ruthless snipers in the 3rd pack and stuff like that. But you specifically want things like Bioman's Devastation, cutting Sure Strike. What is the name of the card?
Cutting Survivor.
Yep, there we go. You want those cards. Those are like really, really key to your deck being good. And then I think those are the major decks, right? You have the sweet deck, you have the control/ramp deck, you have the aggro decks. And then
that's most of them. Most of the green colored pairs kind of get lumped into 4-color green. So even though green is the best color, like green red is mostly just 4-color green. Green black is 4-color green. Yeah. Green blue is 4-color green. So that kind of eats up a lot of the combinations that are good.
Yeah, and I think that as far as like mid-rangey decks go that are like strictly mid-range, you don't have as many of those because in a mid-range on mid-range battle you want to go bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And because the tooling is so good for these decks to beat aggro, you don't see them going to mid-range. But I would say that like white-black removal is like the closest I've been to playing either a straight control or a straight mid-range deck.
And they're like white-black or red-black.
Yeah, and those decks are fine. I haven't played red-black actually ever in this format.
Yeah, it's pretty uncommon. It mostly you have to. Really
Are you just like trying to get all the ruin rats?
No, you have to really like. When I played it, you really like Torment of Scarabs and Torment of Hailfire and Sand Strangler, and like you just play a bunch of red-black removal and Torment of Scarabs, and then whatever. I think Torment of Scarabs
is a deck. I think that
it is.
So it probably is red-black or black-white. I think that you are aggressively slanted, and then I think that one deck that kind of disappeared off the map, in my opinion, is like the Bomby deck. So that's not green. So I actually think that like there's a deck that's either like not 4-color green, but it's basically like the Ominous Sphinx deck is a deck that I actually believe in. I think that like you can draft around Ominous Sphinx and not be blue-black and not be green-blue and not be blue-red and just draft your entire strategy around this. Have you noticed this before?
Yeah, Ominous Sphinx is a really powerful card. You do have to get other like good finishers. So I don't know. The ones that I've had success with is they need like a Wrath or
sure.
Nicol Bolas or something.
There is bomb decks that are built around not green cards. That's another deck in this format. It's just not as common. But I've seen it before.
You just benefit more for just playing green. Like if you open a Nicol Bolas, you just kind of like you just want to start taking green cards, which is weird. Absolutely. But You don't want to start just randomly taking Grixis color card. That's not going to work out very well. Because you're limiting your fixing. You just get Amulet.
There are a few archetypes that we kind of hinted at, and some that we didn't mention. I just kind of want to wrap a bow on this. So we're not advocating for black-white. We're not advocating for black-green, and we're not advocating for straight green decks, right? So like green-black, green-red, green-white, other than green-white, we're not advocating for those. Is there a reason that, like, I mean, everybody, you know, in the history of Magic has told me my bias towards white-black decks, but like, why is white-black bad in this format?
Your card quality is just too low. Like we said that those were the two worst colors, and so if you're white-black, that means all of your cards need to be white or black, and there's just like not that many good cards. That's why you like the white-black decks that can be successful almost have to be Torment of Scarab decks, because you just need a win condition, and you can't. There's not enough aggro cards for that to be your win condition. You don't have insane, like, you can't bank on having an insane late game because the green decks go over the top of you. So like they have to be Torment of Scarab decks, because it's like the one card in the format that you can reliably have as a win condition. Yeah. And if you get a couple Torment of Scarabs, hopefully open like a Bontu's Last Reckoning or something. Like I'm sure you could have a playable white deck that just kind of played dudes and eventually won with 2 Torment of Scarabs. But it's just not common. It's not reliable.
And then the last thing I want to touch on is actually something you said. So you don't there's a theoretical Frilled Sandwalla, Bronus Stalwart, Ambuscade, Sand Strangler, Open Fire, Kindle Fury, Firebrand Archer, like this green-red aggressive deck. Do you not believe it exists?
I don't think so.
I don't think it exists. I think that you're fighting two people on two fronts, right? You have the green drafters taking all the best green cards. You have the red-blue drafters taking all the best red cards, and they're fighting for those really hard. So this color combination, while its deck theoretically exists, its cards are so good in other decks that you don't get them. This actually happened in another format. So if you look at Magic Origins, the absolute best deck was actually not a token free deck. It was actually blue-red artifacts. But it was impossible to get a blue-red artifact deck, because the cards from this deck were good in every single deck. Every single deck wanted the Thopter mechanics. Every single deck wanted the things that made the tokens. And so because of that, this deck was impossible to get together, right? So for the same reasons, I'm not going to get all
Virtuosos,
that wasn't a card then, but
the Whirler Rogue.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Whirler Rogue.
that was
Whirler
your
Rogue
payoff.
was like the best uncommon.
Yeah.
So you couldn't actually get the deck, and I think that green-red falls into that spot here. I think that there's a green-red aggro deck, but you're not going to get it. There's no way. How would you possibly get it? You need Burning Fist Minotaurs, you need Abrades, you need Kindle Furies, you need everything that every other deck wants. You're just not gonna. It's not going to happen for you.
Yeah. It definitely doesn't. I haven't seen it come together. You're just you need such high card quality. It's not realistic. Yeah.
Yep. So that's it for this week. We thank you so much for everybody for listening. Let's go through a wrap up. So first of all, don't forget to check out our sponsors at the Mana Base and Game Grid. We appreciate both of them. It means the world to us to have people willing to sponsor the show. And I don't take sponsorship lightly. I get sponsorship offers all the time from other stores. And I want to support people that want to support us in the way that I want to be supported and in the way that means something to me. When you think about the Mana Base, I think it's cool that they're looking for up and coming Magic content specifically. They're specifically trying to make they're trying to build a brand around up and coming Magic players, right? And when Danny updated the GP, I think the first actual person to tweet about it was the Mana Base.
It was, yeah. I thought that was really cool. I was oh, wow, we joined you a week ago.
They're not joking. The Mana Base and Fusion Gaming believe in their content creators, and it's important to them. And Game Grid is the same way. Joe legitimately wants to help the Magic community. He's one of the owners of Game Grid, and we really do appreciate our sponsors. They mean the world to us. If you haven't checked them out, please do. The Mana Base, Game Grid, they really are great, and we really do appreciate them. Danny, Mason, and Michael can tell you, I turn down sponsorship offers because I want to focus on the ones that like mean a lot to me and that do a lot for me. So, don't forget to check out our Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/ccmtg. I should have done this at the beginning of the show. I don't know why that's not on the show notes. I blame Danny because I'm the one that writes the show. So
I take full responsibility.
But yeah, patreon.com/ccmtg to support this show and the entire Constructive Criticism Network. It's maybe I don't know when to do this. Constructive Criticism is about to hit 200 episodes this week, and I'm like in tears about it. It's kind of crazy. Having Danny on this show means that we are going to hit 100 episodes of this eventually. Although we've seen this.
Yeah, we will.
I think Danny really enjoys this show, and I'm excited to hit those benchmarks with him. And it's actually only possible for me, like the amount of money that the Patreon goes for, like me to attend GPs, for Michael to attend GPs, and eventually, hopefully, for Danny to attend GPs, makes the Magic content better. So please, 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 if you have the means, awesome. Go to patreon.com/ccmtg. Check it out. If you don't, that's awesome. The content is free for a reason. We believe and we just want to make the Magic community better. We want to get better with you, and that's it. Danny, where can people find you?
I'm on Twitter at DJ Cathro, and then the Facebook page, or if anybody ever wants to message me on Facebook or Twitter, I'm good at getting back to them. So.
You can message me at Spencer13H on Twitter. You can find me on Facebook at Spencer Stephen Helen. You can find us in the Constructive Criticism Facebook group at Constructive Criticism Family. That's the name of the group, Constructive Criticism Family. You can find us every week. Apparently not on Twitch because that's not working. But if this YouTube thing works out, I don't mind going live on YouTube. It's whatever, and it doesn't matter to me. So we'll see. We'll see how we feel about it. You can also find us on Twitter at LTOMTG. You can email us directly at LTOcast@gmail.com. I actually don't know the email. So sorry.
Just message us on Twitter. Anything else?
Yeah, just find us somewhere
email.
else. If you go to the bios page, I'm sure that the email's there.
Yeah. I
know this podcast has gotten email in a long time, but you can subscribe on iTunes or wherever you are. If you're subscribing, please, please, please leave a review. The reviews really help the show. It means a lot to us, and it really does help out. Hashtag What's the Pick is our Twitter outreach program. If you tweet it, we'll read it. And we're going to go back to January 16th of 2016. Kiora's follower tweets at LTOMTG. Pick one, pack one. GP Top 8 draft. What's the pick? And it is a pack of everyone's favorite set. That's at least one of mine. It is Oath of the Gatewatch. And we have Negate, Sparkmaid Gambit. Do you remember what these cards do?
Maybe? Yeah.
Sort of deals 1 damage to each of up to 2 target creatures. Those creatures can block turn for 1 and a red.
I think I'm going to find the picture. That's my goal.
Is it McKinley Aeronaut? It's 1/3 for 2.
Yeah.
With flying. Canopy Gorger. It's a 6/5 for 6. A black card that's irrelevant because it was bad. Ruling Waters is bad. Iona's Blessing is bad. Core Haven. Overwhelming Denial. Nope, not taking that. Immobilizer Eldrazi. This is the 2-mana 2/1 for 3 mana. Creature with toughness greater than its power can't block this turn. Expedition Raptor. Oh yeah, that's the 5 mana flying 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, you support 2.
Okay.
Reality Hemorrhage. Stalking Drone, and Warden of, is it Geometrics? I don't actually remember.
Geometries.
Whatever. All right, so this is a tough pack. Pack one, pick one of a G. What are you taking?
Isn't Corehaven broken?
Not that broken.
I've heard Corehaven was pretty busted.
You prevent all combat damage that would be dealt by target attacking creature this turn for 1.
So it's a land that can blank and it can Mazavith for 2 mana.
Kind of, because your deals them damage. It doesn't remove them from combat.
Oh no! This is super broken. Like you can eat their guy. Like they can't attack you.
Did you have 2 mana in your white deck in this format?
I don't know. This was the you can't draft green, right? Isn't that's this format?
No, that was the format before this one. Green became really
and
good in this format. This is the format with Saddleback Legak.
oh, but this one also it's a colorless source too. Because that was big in this format.
The correct picks are either Reality Hemorrhage, Stalking Drone, or Immobilizer Eldrazi.
Stalking Drone was legit. I do remember that. And Immobilizer Eldrazi was pretty good.
The reason for it's Stalking Drone got +2/+1 until end of turn.
+1/+2, yeah.
+1/+2. Yeah. I would take Stalking Drone personally. Like I think that green aggro is like the best thing.
It was green white Legak was insane. But
I like green red because you could easily get red 2-drops because everybody else was fighting over everything else. But yeah, Saddleback Legak, for those who've been listening to this podcast for a long time, it is literally, if not I literally compared it to Bloodbraid Elf. That's how good I thought it was. Yeah, I'd take Stalking Drone.
I think I'd take Corehaven. That card seems insane.
But yeah, if you tweet a picture of a pack with #What'sThePick, we will talk about it every week on the show. So just get on Twitter, #What'sThePick, and we're happy to talk about it. Thank you, everybody, for listening this week. Thank you so much, Danny, for being awake. Thank you, Mason, for your production. We really appreciate it. We give you a lot of crap, but we really love you, man. And don't forget to check out Mason and Kyle every week on Common Knowledge, a podcast about getting better at Magic the Gathering with a focus on Pauper play. They go live every single Wednesday, unless Mason messes up the sound. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you guys all next week.
Have a good night. Thank you, guys.